All right, let's do some linguistic detective work today.
Ooh, fun.
You sent us a pretty fascinating scholarly article,
Okay.
and we're ready to unearth its secrets.
Always up for a good historical mystery.
Right.
What have we got this time?
Well, the article is called
Mm-hmm.
Khandax al-Khandaq,
Mm-hmm.
A New Approach to the Toponym by NIKOLAOS METAXAS and HESHAM M.
Okay.
It tackles the name Khandax,
Right.
the capital of the Emirate of Crete during Arab rule.
Interesting.
And as we dig in,
Yeah.
we'll uncover connections between language, history,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even a bit of religious symbolism.
Intriguing.
Yeah,
I know Khandax isn't a Greek word,
right.
even though it sounds like it could be.
It does.
Where does the name actually come from?
That's where the detective work begins.
Okay.
The authors trace it back to the Persian word, Khandak,
Okay.
meaning to dig.
So we're talking about trenches.
Yeah,
Is this related to the famous Battle of the Trench in early Islamic history?
we're getting ahead of ourselves a bit, but yes, there's a fascinating connection there.
Okay.
First, we need to follow Khandak on its journey.
Right.
It likely entered Arabic through contact with the Sassanid Persian Empire,
Okay.
who were known for their defensive trenches.
Ah, so the Persians, masters of defensive warfare,
Right.
leave their mark on the language.
Right.
Makes you wonder how many other words
Yeah.
we use daily
Right.
have these hidden histories buried within them.
Exactly.
Wow.
Get this, that same Persian root can
Mm-hmm.
also exists in Sanskrit, giving rise to words with similar meanings.
Wow.
It's like a linguistic family tree,
Yeah.
showing how interconnected languages are across vast regions and timescales.
It speaks volumes about the movement of people, ideas,
Right.
and even military strategies throughout history.
For sure.
So, how does Khandak become Khandax?
Well, the scholar Mahmud al-Khashoggi
Okay.
documented the Arabization of Khanda to Khandak
Okay.
in his compendium of the Turkic dialects. And Khandak is the Arabic word for a trench or moat.
So we've got this word Khandak, meaning a dug-up place, a defensive feature.
Right.
And now we're finally ready to talk about that pivotal moment in Islamic history, the Battle of the Trench.
You got it.
Ah.
It took place in 627 CE,
Okay.
and the Prophet Muhammad famously used a trench to defend Medina against a much larger enemy force.
Wow.
This victory is a cornerstone of Islamic history,
Yeah.
even mentioned in the Quran.
The trench in this battle becomes more than just a defensive strategy.
Right.
It symbolizes the believer's courage, faith, and determination to protect their community.
And that's where the article takes a fascinating turn.
Yeah.
It suggests that the Andalusians who founded Khandax centuries later
Right.
might have intentionally drawn on the symbolism of the Battle of the Trench.
Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
both involved immigrants,
Right.
the Muhajirun in Medina
Yep.
and the Andalusians in Crete. Both groups sought refuge
Mm-hmm.
and established new communities. It's as though they were creating their own Medina in Crete,
Right.
consciously echoing that powerful narrative of faith and resilience.
Right. It wasn't just about building a city.
Right.
It was about building a symbol.
Yeah.
And they even chose a name that evoked a powerful victory and a legacy of faith, courage, and unity.
This suggests that we need to look beyond the literal meaning of Khandax.
I think so too.
The name might have been a deliberate attempt to connect their new city to a sacred narrative,
For sure.
to imbue it with a deeper meaning.
That's quite a bold interpretation.
Yeah.
And I'm eager to explore the evidence for it.
Okay.
But before we do,
Yeah.
let's clarify something for our listener.
Okay.
What about the actual physical features of Khandax?
Right.
Did it even have a trench or moat?
It's true that the city did have a moat, but the
Yeah.
article argues that the Andalusians may have been doing more than simply naming the city after its moat.
Okay.
They might have been drawing on a much deeper well of symbolism, connecting their new home to a defining moment in Islamic history.
So the moat becomes more than just a practical defense.
Right.
It becomes a symbolic link to a powerful historical narrative.
Exactly.
I love how this single word is opening up so many layers of meaning and interpretation. It's
Sure.
really amazing.
And to understand just how deep those layers go,
Okay.
we need to explore what life was like in the Emirate of Crete
Yeah.
and how those who lived there,
Okay.
both Arabs and native Cretans,
Right.
interacted and shaped each other's cultures.
Fascinating.
Yeah. This idea of cultural exchange is key to understanding the Emirate of Crete.
Yeah.
The Andalusians didn't just arrive and impose their culture. There was a mixing and mingling that created something new.
So we're not just talking about a conquest, but about a process of cultural osmosis, right?
Right.
What evidence do we have for that in the article?
One striking piece of evidence is how Byzantine sources refer to the Cretans of this period.
Okay.
They often use terms like Cretus or Ecretician, which essentially mean Cretans.
Right.
But they often use those terms interchangeably with Muslims or Saracens.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's as though the Byzantines couldn't quite separate the idea of Cretan from Muslim.
Right.
Does that suggest that many Cretans converted to Islam under Arab rule?
It certainly points to a significant level of religious conversion and cultural blending.
Okay.
We also see this blending in the names and titles of Cretan rulers.
Uh-huh.
Remember, even the last emir of Crete was known as Kabd al-Qaziz al-Qurubi, the one from Cordoba.
So even the ruling class reflected this blending of cultures.
Exactly.
You have someone with an Arabic name,
Yeah.
indicating a Muslim background,
Uh-huh.
but his title highlights his origins in Cordoba, Spain,
Right.
where the Andalusians came from.
Yeah.
It really paints a picture of a society where Arab and Cretan identities were becoming intertwined.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this mixing wasn't limited to the elite.
Okay.
The article suggests that Cretans, regardless of their religion, were integrated into the fabric of the emirate,
Okay.
possibly holding positions of authority and participating in various aspects of society.
This challenges the traditional narrative of conquerors and the conquered, doesn't it?
It does.
It suggests a more complex relationship,
Yeah,
a shared society that emerged from this cultural exchange.
absolutely.
Interesting.
And the article highlights a fascinating detail that supports this view.
Okay.
The apparent lack of recorded massacres or forced conversions during the initial Arab conquest of Crete.
That's surprising,
Yeah.
considering the brutality that often accompanied conquests in that era.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
And it further suggests a relatively peaceful transition of power and a willingness on the part of the Cretans to adapt to the new reality of Arab rule.
The article also mentions that there are no known Cretan Christian martyrs from this period.
Right.
Typically, widespread persecution would leave behind stories of those who died for their faith.
That's true. The absence of such accounts lends weight to the idea of a degree of religious tolerance within the emirate.
Yeah.
It seems that the Arab rulers allowed the Cretan Christians to practice their faith relatively unhindered.
This religious tolerance,
Yeah.
coupled with the integration of Cretans into the broader society,
Right.
might explain another intriguing historical detail.
Okay.
The fierce resistance the Byzantines faced when they attempted to reconquer Crete.
Yes.
Right.
It's almost as if the Cretans, regardless of their religion,
Yeah.
had come to identify with their Arab rulers and
Right.
were willing to fight to defend the emirate.
It seems like this fusion of cultures,
Right?
this sense of shared identity,
Yeah.
went deeper than just surface level interaction.
For sure.
It suggests a real sense of belonging
Mm-hmm.
and a willingness to defend what they had created together.
It speaks volumes about the impact of that cultural osmosis we talked about earlier.
Okay.
And this brings us to a crucial aspect of the article. The image of the Cretans as depicted in Byzantine sources.
Okay.
While there's evidence of this cultural blending and shared identity,
Right.
the Byzantines often portrayed the Cretans in a very different light.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
It seems like we have two contrasting narratives here.
right.
On the one hand, we see evidence of integration, cooperation,
Yeah.
and even religious tolerance
Hmm.
within the emirate.
Right.
But on the other hand, we have the Byzantine perspective,
Exactly.
which might be painting a less harmonious picture.
Exactly. And it's essential to consider both of these narratives
Right.
to understand the complexities and potential biases at play.
For sure.
So let's delve into how the Byzantines viewed those Cretans living under Arab rule.
Okay.
What kind of image did they present? The Byzantine sources often depict the Cretans under Arab rule
Right.
in a negative light,
Okay.
portraying them as barbaric, lawless,
Right.
and prone to piracy.
Right.
Essentially, they painted a picture. That contrasted sharply with the Byzantine ideal of civilized society.
So it's a classic case of us versus them,
Exactly.
where the Byzantines define themselves as the civilized righteous force
Right.
and project everything they consider negative onto the other.
Right.
In this case, the Cretans under Arab rule.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's crucial to consider the context here.
Okay.
The Byzantine Empire was in a period of decline during this era,
Right.
having lost control of Crete and struggling to maintain its grip on other territories.
Mm.
Portraying the Cretans as barbaric and dangerous served their political agenda.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
By demonizing their enemy.
Right.
They could justify the reconquest of Crete and rally support for their campaigns.
Exactly.
Did they go beyond simply portraying them as uncivilized?
They did.
Oh.
Some Byzantine sources went so far as to describe Crete as a cursed island, the goddamned place.
Wow.
This takes the rhetoric a step further,
Yeah.
linking the supposed negative state of the island directly to its inhabitants' religious identity.
So it's not just about them being uncivilized.
Right.
It's about them having abandoned Christianity and
Yeah.
embraced Islam.
Exactly.
It's almost as if the Byzantines believed that by turning away from the true faith, the Cretans had brought this curse upon themselves.
Exactly.
Wow.
This framing allowed the Byzantines to cast their reconquest as a righteous crusade, a holy mission to reclaim a land that had fallen into the hands of infidels.
Wow.
It's a stark reminder of how religion can be used to justify political actions,
Right.
even those involving violence and conquest.
It seems we're seeing two contrasting narratives at play here.
Yeah.
We have evidence suggesting a level of integration,
Right.
cooperation, and even religious tolerance within the emirate.
Yeah.
But we also have this Byzantine perspective,
Right.
which seeks to demonize and utter the Cretans,
Yeah.
painting a much darker picture of life under Arab rule.
Exactly.
It's a clash of ideologies, each serving their own purpose.
It's a reminder that history is rarely simple or one-sided.
Right.
We must consider multiple perspectives,
Yeah.
acknowledge inherent biases,
Mm-hmm.
and try to piece together a more nuanced understanding of the past.
For sure.
In this case, it means recognizing both the evidence of cultural fusion
Yeah.
and the Byzantine propaganda that aimed to demonize their opponents.
That's a valuable lesson, isn't it?
It is.
We started with a single word, Khandax,
Right.
but it's led us to a much deeper exploration of the Emirate of Crete.
Yeah.
We've traced the word's etymology, uncovered its symbolic connection to the Battle of the Trench,
Right.
and examined the complexities of cultural exchange and identity formation.
For sure.
We've also seen how different historical actors viewed and portrayed this period, each with their own motives and interpretations.
And we've learned that sometimes the names of places
Yeah,
can hold echoes of forgotten stories and hidden meanings.
that's true.
It's a testament to the power of language to connect us to the past, and a reminder to always look beyond the surface when exploring history.
This deep dive has certainly left me with a lot to think about.
It's fascinating stuff.
It seems like the story of the Emirate of Crete is one of cultural exchange,
Yeah.
adaptation, and the enduring power of shared experiences.
Right.
Even amidst broader conflicts and competing narratives,
For sure.
who knew a single word could unlock such a rich tapestry of history?
It's really amazing